everyone, it's Valkyne, and this is the review of Season 1, Episode 10 of Supernatural Asylum. So if you're new here, I'm doing a recap review of every single episode of Supernatural so you can follow along. It's actually been like almost a week since I watched this episode. I've just been so busy that I haven't been able to do this, and I'm gonna try my best to remember. So I think I talked about how Hookman was like the scariest, you know, most horror-filled episode thus far. This episode was, it's so funny because this episode feels like what a horror movie would be. Like, you would take this plot and you would just extend it to be twice as long, I guess, perhaps. And there you go, you got a low budget horror movie. So it felt very much like that, and like just like, you know, something with an asylum. So definitely scary, the scariest episode thus far, and they really did that in Season 1 and Season 2. But yeah, you can tell like it's very low budget, like it's dark and stuff, and I mean they really had like one location in this and very minimal characters as well. It was really them and those two other characters, and it felt like a real horror movie that was just an episode. So even though like we're dealing with monsters, it feels kind of different than every episode we've had, I feel like. Well, there were also like a few other characters. Like we finally kind of saw like Sam go to therapy, because that's something that they do, is they sometimes like pretend to be this person, that person, just to get information. So in the way, but sometimes it's like what they need. So like in this way, like Sam was pretending he like, you know, needed to see a therapist to talk to this guy, when really like that's something that Sam should need. And I'm trying to remember, but I think I forgot, but they kind of got into like the differences with like him and Dean, and like something about like his brother. I don't even remember. We also talk a lot about Monster of the Week, and this monster was Ghost. So we've had a lot of ghosts thus far, but I feel like they do something different with every single ghost that it feels different. I also think it was interesting that like the ghosts, most of the ghosts in this episode weren't actually there to harm them, was there kind of just to warn them, and kind of like, it's kind of interesting that sometimes, and we kind of saw this with Home too, so back to back, they did back-to-back ghosts, but sometimes like spirits just can't leave, and they're not necessarily bad, they're just like there and they can't get out. But I really don't have too much to say about this episode. It's gonna be short, obviously, because it was so horror filled. Like, it's not like my kind of, I wouldn't like, it's not my kind of episode. Like, I'm not that into it. Like, it's not the kind of episode like I look for and everything. I did feel like still like they were trying to save that girl, even though that guy was there. Like, they were trying to, it still felt like, oh, they're saving the girl. But I kind of liked how she like had some power, and she's like the one who kind of has used a gun before, and like it was funny because they were like, we're gonna break up. Also that like other guy, like he actually like is like, he's done like some really good roles, and like I don't know, maybe this is one of his first roles. I'm forgetting his name, but I think like Eric Herpy, especially at the beginning, he just really wanted something that was like a new horror every week. And so obviously as the seasons go along, it's more lighthearted, which is kind of interesting because sometimes they deal with deeper stuff, but that's more emotional, deeper. But they don't have this like horror the same way as they did. And also the ratings for, I think, TV changed. So I feel like you couldn't make, I feel like the rating might be different for an episode like this. But then again, like I'm saying, it's like a low budget horror movie, so I don't know. Also, I think it's so interesting like watching The Boys and whatever Eric Herpy's done next, and how he like really takes those shows on, and how like he couldn't really do that with Supernatural, but I wonder if like he wanted to. Also, another thing that people don't know is that they wanted Dean to be like covered in tattoos, but they didn't have the budget for it, which I feel like doesn't work for him. Like, it's just not his direction, and I feel like it would have looked weird on Jensen, and I just feel like then maybe Jensen wouldn't have gotten that part because it's not his vibe. It's a different vibe. Like, couple of tattoos are okay, and of course they get tattoos as the show goes along, which we'll get to when we get to it. But I feel like having full arms coverage of tattoos, it's a totally different vibe. Anyway, those are my thoughts and feelings about the 10th episode of Supernatural, and I'll do this video for the 11th episode. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and bye.